Hello, friends. Welcome back to VidMark, now the Tactus Media podcast. Very excited to make that change. This will allow me to reach out beyond just video marketing and tackle some other issues that are happening in Portland, things that are happening in the community, as well as just people that are cool, fun, and exciting topics, and just make it interesting for you guys. I'm kind of a random person, so it'll allow me to go in some random directions, which is exciting. But anyway, without further ado, the first guest to as we're doing this kind of a soft relaunch. I stopped with the wedding, and now we're getting things back up and going again. But we had Ryan Chisesi on the show. He is a creative video editor and producer who runs EditButter Studios in Colorado Springs, Colorado. And you guys might be thinking, oh, that Ryan sounds familiar. Yes, he did come on the podcast many episodes ago, and I think he's going to be a really good fit as we're transitioning away from VidMark and video marketing. He is actually ramping those things up. So if you're looking for tips and tricks on how to make videos, how to edit videos better, check out Ryan's page, his Instagram, as well as their website, and that'll all be linked in the show notes. But a little bit about Ryan. He has helped craft projects with companies like Planet Fitness, Microsoft, the Olympics and Paralympics, Hall of Fame, some pretty big names there. He has an obsession with making content that's fun and stands out, and things that help him and his team stand out and showcase where they are today. And what they like to do is help businesses and creators, big and small, grow their identity through video. So this is going to be a really exciting episode. A little throwback to the previous one, and just getting you guys better comfortable with the video production process and what it means to be a creative. So this is a really fun episode. Stay tuned. Let's do it. Welcome to the Tactus Media Podcast. I'm your host, Brian Cargill. I'm excited to explore a ton of different topics with you. It's going to be a lot of fun. In the past, we've talked about video marketing, brand, strategy. There's still going to be a lot of that, but we also want to tackle some issues that are happening in Portland, fun concepts, as well as some engaging stories. All right, let's kick it. Well, Mr. Chisesi, I'm excited. Thank you for coming on to the podcast.
Yeah, man. Thank you for having me. You nailed the name. That's awesome.
Yeah, I wanted to say like chill Sessy because you're so chill, but
I don't know if everybody's ever said I was that chill before, but I'll take it. That's nice.
Oh man, no, it's been awesome. I've been following the journey because you were on the podcast almost like 2 years ago, probably something like that. And
Wow, was it that long ago?
yeah, the blip of COVID.
Wow, that's crazy. Time flies.
It really does. It's been nuts. For me, like the reason I stopped the podcast is I got married, so it was just like one extra thing to worry about. But
Wow. Congratulations.
yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's been great getting things back up and running. I was kind of excited. I'm nervous right now because like I haven't done this for a while and like doing the interview, and that's why I wanted to start with you, Ryan, because I knew you'd help carry me in case I fall.
I will try, my friend. No, you're good. You're good at this. Give yourself more credit. You've done it enough times. You got it. You got it.
I appreciate that. I like my inquisitive mind, but I'll start off with like some questions. Maybe you can give the audience just like a brief background, and you can talk about there's new happenings. You've created a whole new channel since last time we talked.
Yeah. I tried things a little bit differently. Obviously, do video work. I got my start. I do video editing and film, etc., stuff like that. And I've done everything from just film like mom and pop bakeries down the street to I've done commercials for like Planet Fitness. I've worked with Microsoft. I've done big stuff like that. And then, at home stuff. Did a lot of work in the hair industry. Worked with a lot of different hair companies, influencers, etc., music videos, all that kind of stuff. But in the last year, I wanted to change things up, and I started a little media company called EditButter Studios. Because if you want to edit better, edit butter. Oh God, I can't believe I said that out loud.
Love it.
That's one of our dumb taglines, but that's the idea. Like, it's interesting. Like, it's not like a dig at anybody or anything, but a lot of companies or other, like a lot of places have a lot of the same vibe. They're like, we are this productions or this and this, and they're very serious about everything. And I wanted to be able to do cool, fun stuff that like stands out, but that's done well. And having a name like EditButter works right off the bat, because anytime I tell people, I laugh and they laugh and they're like, that's really your name? And I'm like, It is.
Heck yeah, man. It's smooth. It's smooth. I love it.
Thanks.
And like you said, yeah, everything, maybe we can use like the word stodgy, or everything's like kind of corporate, like cookie cutter. And
Yes.
yeah, if for everyone that's listening, do pull up on your phone, go to Instagram and check out EditButter Studios, or you can check out Ryan's personal Instagram channel, and you can
Mhm.
see that your style is so unique, and I love it. It's fantastic. I
Hey, I
will
appreciate
say
that.
it's a bit edgier. So, mom, if you're watching, maybe use like your eye muffs if you can.
That's
But I would
true.
say I love it. But that's part of it. I mean, dude, this is a Portland podcast, and so it's like, yeah, edgier things that are kind of yeah, you're pushing the mold all the time, and I love it.
Trying. You know, it's interesting too. There is a lot of edgy stuff. It's interesting. I don't have as much of, so I do a lot of work actually that people never see. And it's interesting because a lot of times I don't have anything to post because I'm working on things that are behind the scenes and I can't release them, and a lot of internal stuff. So I've done different things for like big company things. Like I do a lot of sizzle reels, a lot of things like that, film a lot of corporate work that's all internal. And they're like, I always ask them like, can I show this? And the answer is usually no, which is a bummer. So I try to do the edgier stuff to stand out, to get it, just to get eyeballs. So I'm still learning that mix. And like with our website, you know, we show that we can do everything from, you know, like documentary style to, you know, intense music videos or things like that, like you were saying. But there's, especially in the Portland area, as you know, and I could give you some recommendations for some people to talk to next. I mean, I barely touch the, when I compare myself, I know some guys in that area that are just so good, and like their styles are insane, and the level of editing and what they do. And I just sit there, I watch it, and I go, I don't even know what to think anymore because it's so impressive. You know, there's so much talent, right?
Totally. Yeah. And I was kind of falling into that at one point too, especially when I was like going to school for video production. It's like I felt like everyone was doing it, and I'm like, man, how am I gonna be different? And
Yeah,
but at the end of the day, it's kind of like everyone, like there are a handful of people, but there's only one like Ryan, or there's only one Brian. Like, so we bring a
very good
unique
point.
style and a unique set of like skill set to the table.
Yeah.
Um, and which kind of brings me to the next point of like, you have this very unique background. And I think and you've kind of brought a lot of different worlds together. Like you originally started off in music, and
Mhm.
then you have you know, being a barber, and bringing
Yep.
those two worlds. And not everyone can do that. They can't pull upon, you know, playing. You played guitar, right?
Yeah, yeah, since I was 13.
Yeah, you're playing guitar for many, many years, and that 100% plays into the video editing, timing,
Yes.
and like the importance of music. And I've looked at some of your
Yes.
timelines. Dude, you go crazy with it, with the sounds. Your soundscapes are beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you. I tried. That's it is interesting, right? It's something that I've noticed. So a lot of my, even my favorite like directors, editors, like teams that I watch in production, they always get the okay in a lot of their music videos and productions. Like they're allowed to put sound design underneath the editing because they realize how much more immersive it is and it helps tell that story. Um, and that's, to me, yeah, working in studios, you know, I used to tour, play music, worked in studios, and I used to do a lot of music production like myself, and recording and mixing. So when we started doing video and figuring that part out, I was like, well, I'm still figuring the video out, but the sounds, I already knew kind of what to do. You pan things here and here, you know, you put different effects on things, and just the way you move that can take a static image and move something for you without having to do it on the video. And yeah, that's definitely something that I love to do, right? Just more sound design, more or less, can make it better, even if it's just a couple little things here and there. To me, it stands out, and I notice that when other people do it too.
Oh yeah, 100%. And just like that attention to detail. I was watching one of your clips earlier today of like you were filming clouds, and you went from like filming out here, but then you added a sound effect to like click in, and then it
Mhm.
like punched in and added so much to that experience.
Yes. No, thank you. I'm really glad you noticed that. I try to do that because even now, like you said, like, it's really cool. You think a lot of the stuff is, you know, stands out or is extreme, but a lot of my editing has become more basic on a lot of things. But I always try to find a couple things here and there that make it stand out. So yeah, even just a little click or a pop or a whoosh, whatever, it can really change things. And that's even something that like I have to go back through and rename it, but I even have a full sound design pack that I made in studio with the music producer Matt. He goes by Make Music or Die, He's also in Portland. He'd be a great one for you to talk to. He's part of our team though with EditButter Studios. So if you were to if you go to EditButter Studios, look at the people on my team and everything, Matt's on there, and we created a full sound design, couple different packs. So everything from like creepy noises and like full soundscapes for like complete back layering for like horror films, things like that, all the way up to whooshes and clicks and pops. So that we always have something to grab from, and it's royalty free. So I should send that to you so you could use it.
Wow, that's really cool. You're giving out freebies for people to be able to throw those in their clips. That's awesome.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Wow, you've like hit the ground running. Last time I think we talked, it was like you were editing, but now it's like you have EditButter Studios. You've been building all this stuff out for the last like year.
Trying.
What kind of like what motivates you?
Oh man, you're so nice. You're so kind, man. I appreciate you.
Most definitely, bro.
I mean, part of it. So I think this, maybe you don't. So I relocated. I'm back in Colorado now. I came back originally. I did a piece for the Olympic Hall of Fame here. I edited a TV series for them. It's on PBS. You can see it. It's called Becoming Your Personal Best. And it's life lessons with Olympians and Paralympians here in Colorado. So it's pretty cool. And you can watch it. So I came out for that. And then during the editing of that, while I was finishing that project, I got injured. I tore my neck, or I tore a disc hemorrhaged in my neck, and I had to have spinal neck surgery. And so I ended up having to stay here longer than expected. And now I decided to stay as well because my mom's actually disabled. And so I help take care of her. So I just decided to make the full move back. And the whole reason I give you that background is it's a little bit harder to get work out here. I got a lot more work on the West Coast, things like that. And while the work itself gets you more work, I'm not as established here. So I created the team and the name so that way I'd have more people and more things to offer. Because basically I wanted to be able to go to like small businesses or creators or whoever and be like, well, I can do all this for you, or I have a full team and here's everything we offer. So that way we can get more work and do more in a place where I feel people need it.
Yeah, I think I remember seeing on social you had the injury and things, kind of like, dude, blessings to you for like pushing through all of that and like
thanks, man,
and taking care of your mom and doing all those wonderful things, man. Like
trying.
You're a huge inspiration to me. Like I think a lot of other people see what you're doing and they're like, wow, like you're pushing through. So you're touching lives, thanks, even if you don't see it with social media, it's kind of like a one-way street. I feel like you're putting out stuff and it's kind of this weird, like people know a lot about you, but you don't really know a lot about them. It's kind of, puts us in this interesting spot. But yeah, definitely. Maybe you can tell people, like last time you were on the podcast, you talked about how you kind of became a videographer out of necessity. You kind of you messed up your shoulder, your arm. Yeah. And then became a videographer. And I think that would be really inspiring for a lot of people out there, because a lot of people fall into this or have to make a transition or find new skill sets to be able to just like survive in this world.
Yes, good point. So to make it a long story short, basically my whole thing to tell anybody is just you just got to, sometimes you just have to let go of everything you think, let go of everything you think, and just like dive into terror, dive into fear. So I was a barber. I was cutting hair forever after I got done playing music, tore my right shoulder, and didn't know what I was going to do because I didn't know if I was going to be able to cut hair anymore. Had to have surgery. And then while I was down from surgery, I made myself learn photography and video, because I was like, well, if I learn how to edit stuff and do this, I don't have to use my arm all day. Maybe I could do this for a living. And I was always into it. And I was already running the social media for the barbershop I worked at the time. And so I was doing all their pictures and all their stuff, playing around with video, but I had no clue what I was doing. I still don't.
No, you do. Everyone watches stuff. You'll see. He's being modest.
No, that's right. I got a lot to learn, man. But yeah, so I just made myself learn it out of fear. Basically, I was terrified. I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do to make money. I don't want to go back to college. I don't want to go back to working at a call center. I had done all that before. I know I didn't like it. So I just forced myself to learn. So while I was recovering, learned everything I could about video, went back to cutting hair 3 days a week for like 6 hours a day. It was all I could do at the time for my arm. And I just started filming barbers and filming people in the hair industry. So I went from just doing hair and not knowing anything about video to filming people cutting hair. And then fortunately for myself, I was able to make some really great connections with some people that are very well known in the hair industry. And they did a lot for me. Person that goes by Stay Gold 31. Her name's Sophie. She's very well known in the hair industry. She's extremely talented, one of the best people out there. And she was looking for somebody to edit her videos. I reached out, she gave me a chance, we hit it off. And then she ended up taking me, around the world with her. I filmed with her for different hair campaigns. We filmed in Russia, we filmed in Toronto, LA, New York. We've been all over together, Miami. And so, yeah, I just kind of just threw my head into it and just dove into that. Basically out of fear is the whole thing. Is that what you asked? Yeah.
Yeah, dude, that's amazing. Just diving into the deep end, not knowing what you're doing. But I think that's so inspiring for a lot of people because, doing video can be intimidating or not knowing where to start. But that's where everyone is at when they first start off. Being a beginner and being okay with like making mistakes along the way is so crucial. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then putting yourself out there is even tough too. Putting your work out there. And
that's such a good point. And I'm glad you said that. And that's a thing to always remind yourself and other people, like, if it feels right for you. This is the biggest shift I've made too, is I used to be a very big, like, I always pushed people. You got to do this, you got to do that. You don't have to do anything. Nobody has to do anything. Don't be on social media if you don't want to. Don't promote yourself if you don't want to. Find what feels right for you and head into that. And then accept that maybe if you want to do more, that maybe there's other things to try. And don't be afraid to try it, because you never know. You might do it a few times, you might really like it. And especially with social media and video and trying those things and putting yourself out there, you'd be surprised what you can do from that. Because like with Sophie, she said she needed help. I reached out, and then she took me all over, and I met all these people and I got all these big opportunities just because I was brave enough to say, give me a shot. And at the time I'd only been doing video maybe 6 months. And I really didn't know what I was doing. I look back at a lot of those edits and I'm just so happy that she gave me a shot, because I look back at it now and I laugh because I'm like, this is awful. But yeah, just if it feels right, go for it. And if it doesn't, that's okay too. Don't feel bad that you're not doing that, but just do things for the right reason and do things for other people for the right reason. And I think that can align and really help moving forward, especially in just the way the world is today. Like, do things with the right intentions, and I think it'll work the rest of itself out. You know what I mean?
Totally. Yeah, I think that we have like a lot of this like should mentality in our society. It's like, I should be doing this. Like, I need to be on TikTok. I need to be here. I need to be on LinkedIn. I need to be everywhere. And it's like, okay, well, that's just leading you to burnout and leading to just like self-guilt and feeling bad.
100%.
But yeah, I like what you mentioned, just like leaning into what feels right. And just like, I mean, even earlier, like all of our best content isn't even out there. It's like, because a lot of times the clients don't let us use it, but it is what it is.
It's amazing. Yeah.
And then it kind of leads me like your connection of Sophie opened up all of these doors. And like what I've started to realize, like you're one connection away from like a whole bunch of opportunities. Like how cool is that most people, it takes them maybe a few years before they get the opportunity to like get to travel with their camera and do travel work. And you were able to, like, because you had that contact, it sped up that process and you were able to start traveling.
Oh yeah. And that's why, like, if you do decide to promote yourself on social and do things like that, or put yourself out there, that's it. If anything, that's one reason to say, all right, maybe I should try this. Because you're right. Didn't know what I was doing. Tried. She gave me the opportunity. I made her happy. It made me feel good. We discovered we worked together well. And then she's connected with a bunch of other people. She's in LA, knows tons of people. And because of her, I got to do a thing for Planet Fitness. And then I got to film, behind the scenes for Ciara, and meet her and meet Russell Wilson and do all those things. And then I got to film behind the scenes with them for Jennifer Lopez and their dance crew and do all these things. And all from just saying, hey, I'll edit your hair videos. And I didn't make any money. And, from like, especially doing the hair videos, starting together, like she helped me with a lot of things, but she was like, I can't pay you. And I was like, that's okay. I just want experience. And I think being okay with, sometimes a trade, like people, there's this, we all know this, there's a lot of debate between the whole, like, work for free, don't work for free. You got to really find what you're comfortable with. But at the same time, it's like, if you are working for free, sometimes it's not for free. You're gaining a lot of experience. You get these connections, you get the opportunity, and the opportunity to meet people sometimes can outweigh the cash. So save up some money and just go for it.
Totally.
Be broke if you have to for a while.
Well, I think part of it's like, cutting your teeth, getting those chops and getting those reps and
Yeah.
experience. And
Yeah.
yeah, the right free project for the right person pays dividends for a long time, is what I found.
Absolutely.
So you just have to do the right project. There's someone that doesn't
Absolutely.
really value video and you do it for them, whatever. But if they value video, but they don't have money, but maybe they have connections, they can kind of
Hmm.
leverage that. Or
Hmm.
yeah, you never know. Some of these things, like a video that I made, I made a video for a client, and then 5 years later, they finally reached back out again, and paid even more the second time we reached
Hmm.
out. So it's just kind of
Yeah.
like maybe they're at a different spot too. Like all these people you do work for, they move on in life and they eventually can pay you. So I don't know. There's good karma around there. I'm a believer of that.
Absolutely. And there's nothing wrong too. Like sometimes people will be like, well, you're expecting something back. If you make it clear up front, that's the biggest thing. You say, I can definitely do this, but would you help me promote? Would you help me do this and do that? If you get those things out in the front in the beginning, that changes everything. Because then nothing's hidden. Nobody knows, nobody's wondering what is their real thing. They're like, no, I'll help you, but I need something in return. And that's okay, because if somebody wants you to take that much time out of your day and do these other things, the very least they could do is give you credit for the work and let other people know, hey, this is the guy. There's
Totally.
nothing, or this is the lady. There's nothing wrong with that.
100%. Yeah. Yeah. They put it on their website, they credit you, and then you start getting people coming to your website based from that connection.
Exactly.
I wanted to ask you at some point, have you seen the new Batman?
I saw it last night.
Dude, yeah, I just saw it last night too. Wow, dude, I had a feeling. I just was like, there's what did you think? I was like, man, this is like super indie filmed
Yes.
and shot for Batman, which we're
Yes.
coming off of Christopher Nolan cinematic.
Yes.
Uh, I just thought, I was like blown away. I was like, it was so cool they put the camera everywhere. You're inside the wheel, you're behind his head, you're like
Yes.
inside the exhaust pipe, you're all over the
Oh, I
place.
loved it. I loved it. I prefer, it's interesting in this digital, like everybody loves sharp, crisp images, all this stuff. I'm so the opposite. My favorite videos and campaigns and everything I see, they're extra grainy. Film is messed up. Things aren't lit perfect. I like things like that because it feels more real to me. You know what I mean? When things are so perfect, sometimes I'm just like, oh, this is obviously, I mean, it's produced and obviously everything's produced, but I loved it. I love the graininess. I love the raw effects of it. It was a different way to tell the story, and I appreciate that. And I don't get me wrong, I love Nolan's version. Obviously, how could you not? I mean, I love, and Hoyt von something is his cinematographer, and I'm like obsessed with his work. So all the credit to them. I just love the grainy stuff too. If
Yeah,
you
it was
look,
kind of, oh, sorry, I
yeah.
didn't mean to cut
Oh no,
you
you're
off.
good. Keep going. Keep going.
Well, I was gonna just say it's kind of crazy. It's like kind of similar to the comics. Like you had the comics that were like
Yes.
really well produced, but then there's like indie forms of it. And so now we're seeing that in the film world where it's like you have a produced film, but then there's the indie style, and like there's so many different ways of approaching the same concept.
Absolutely. I love that. And you'll even see it in a lot of my work. Almost everybody I do anything for, I'm like, I would like to make this more filmic. I wish I knew how to run, like, I don't know how to run full like film cameras, like for productions and things like that. They involve so much more knowledge that I don't have. But I love that look. So I try to recreate it as much as I can. It's my favorite. So I'm glad you brought that up.
Totally.
Yeah.
I would say the best word, like gritty. Like you're able to
Yes.
bring that grit and make it feel more raw and real. And in a day and
Yes.
age where everyone's putting lip gloss on everything, it's refreshing to have something that feels real.
I love it. I absolutely love it. It's my favorite. It's for anybody that's listening, there's a couple the people that like whose work I love the most currently. The company, it's called Occurrens, Occurrens. They're based out of like France. I believe they're based out of France. And I'm forgetting the name, but look up Occurrens and their content. And like it's some of the grittiest stuff you've seen. And they actually did like a lot of their producers, them in Division LA. They did like a lot of the recent stuff for like Kanye and a lot of the grittier stuff that you're seeing. And the way that they only use film cameras, they're only using film and mainly for like most of their stuff, and the way they put their looks together, it's so grainy and crazy. And you see it in a lot of their fashion films in Paris that you never see here because it's so almost grungy in a way, but it's so well done that you like feel like you're falling, like it's almost like a hug from warm film as opposed to like cold digital. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
good.
You're able to embrace it. I love
Yeah.
that. That's a great analogy.
Yeah.
Man. And then, yeah, coming out of France or coming out of, other places where, yeah, I think there's just become too much of a standard. And
Mhm.
like, I'm trying to grapple with it, that like for some videographers, it's like too hard for them to go back and do that, to become gritty, or to like do things that like aren't all like on a gimbal, that aren't all perfect shots, like doing more handheld, or things that I don't know, are more like styled for YouTube
Yeah,
versus like the different platforms. Like how you put put together a video that you put on YouTube is much different than what's going to be put on the cinematic screens. And people
absolutely.
sometimes forget that.
Absolutely. Yeah. I actually hardly ever remember to use my gimbal. I'm either handheld all the time or static shots. So almost all the time, which sometimes bites me because I'm like, oh, this would have been looked really good if it was on a gimbal, nice and smooth. But I don't mind camera shake, and like I like things like that. And all the cameras I currently use for majority of my work don't have stabilization. So you just kind of figure out how to move with the camera a little bit.
Yeah, and then like with some of the edits, you only need maybe like a second or two of stability anyway, and then you can kind of work it in
Exactly.
there.
Very good point.
Yeah, it's just crazy. And then yeah, some of those handheld shots, it lends its ability to like get into smaller spaces, or you can like track things faster. That's what I've
Uh-huh.
found has been really cool.
Uh-huh.
Whereas if I'm like on a shoulder rig or on a gimbal, like it's just too slow or clunky, and I can't get into small spaces and
Yeah.
get nice shots.
Yeah. I mean, obviously the right tool for the job, but I do find that like, we all kind of find our style. And for me, it's definitely more handheld, and that's tough because sometimes you can just like, oh, this is not going to work.
Yeah, it's not
But
gonna
you
work, but
try.
they just like
Yeah.
hope for the best, and then like you
Yeah.
look at what you got afterwards. And there's been
Yeah.
times like I filmed everything, I'm like, man, I don't think any of that's gonna be usable. And then you finally review it, and you're like, this actually wasn't as bad as I thought.
Yeah. Thank goodness for stabilization in
Exactly.
post.
Yeah, the warp stabilizer. That's what I
Yep.
use in Premiere.
Yeah. Same.
Do you have a favorite part of the video process? With the music brain and film brain and the cutting
Mhm.
side of you as well.
It depends on the project. I won't lie. There are some projects and things I work on where it's tough to even fall into it because and this is what I found is from if you put yourself out there to do more broad work, like trying to do things for people based off of what they want versus what you offer or like what is your style, that's when I have the most trouble. So which is kind of where I guess the whole idea of like niching down and like really knowing, like saying, here's what we produce, here's how we do it. If you want to work with us, we'll give you what you want, but it's going to be in this style. And I say that because that's where it can change. Sometimes, I've always been more of an editor. I love editing probably the most. I do like working with people in person. I hate moving gear. It's the worst thing ever. But actually, you know what I found? The more that I've been working with a team, the more I talk with people, I like developing things. Coming up with a storyboard and like coming up with ideas and going back and forth with people. The actual producer role of doing things, I actually really like, and I like seeing people develop as an artist. I like working with artists or teams of people or companies that want to do stuff, and then they listen to your ideas and you help them create it. And sometimes I like that more than actually doing the creation itself, because you're getting in their head and you're working together to come up with something. And then I can get other people to do what I do, like from editing or filming and other stuff, and put it together. So I like the actual production of things. I've learned more and more as I go further, because sometimes sitting in front of a computer for days editing is not fun.
Oh yeah, it's tedious, it's isolating.
Very.
That's really inspiring. And I think last time we talked, you had like just jumped into some of these projects talking about that fear and just like said yes, and then you were like, okay, I guess I'll figure it out, and you bring together a team around it. And
Yeah.
I really tip my hat off to you, because I haven't really jumped into that role of being a producer. I'm like, oh, I still want to have a hand in all these things, but I think being able to sit at a higher level and see the project as a whole and just maybe focus on story and, like you said,
Mm-hmm.
development,
Mm-hmm.
is actually more valuable to the client even as well.
100%, especially when you realize there's people out there that are just better at certain things. um, I am the biggest I think one of the biggest shifts I've made is I've learned a lot more about my ego and things like that. And before, I'll be honest, like I had a very quick rise too fast, I think, in things. I got a lot of those opportunities that we talked about, and I got them so fast that it was overwhelming, and I did really start to believe even my own hype. And so at the other end of that was an equal type of crash, right? So as great as I felt about everything and everything was going, I ended up going through the exact opposite, but to the same level of intensity, where I was like, oh, now nobody's calling. I'm not getting work the same. And it makes you feel very different about yourself all of a sudden. And so it forced me to go through, just a lot of internal rebuilding and things like that. So that's actually helped a lot in moving forward with other productions and doing other things, because I can just say, yeah, I can't do that, but I think I know somebody who can. And then people go, okay, great. And I go, cool. Now I don't have to worry about doing it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I've
I
passed
to-
off a lot of work. I've given a lot of money away, a lot of projects, a lot of other opportunities, just because I knew it wasn't the right fit, or I just knew for myself it wasn't the right time for me to do it. And being okay with doing that helped a lot mentally.
Yeah, that's awesome. That you kind of realize that, or like, it sounds just like a lot of growth has happened, and same with myself as well, like
I
saying,
bet.
and I kind of made mistakes of saying yes to projects that I didn't really like as much, and then yeah, it put me in a spot where I couldn't say yes to, like, when the projects I did want to do came through, I wasn't able to
Yeah.
say yes to them.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're saying kind of like when there wasn't as much work, was that kind of out of a pandemic where you kind of did things kind of slow down a bit?
That was a big part of it. Well, obviously yeah, I lost a lot of work because I had to relocate. Couldn't show up for certain things. And then obviously the jobs just disappeared. So it turned to just more editing. So I was getting more remote editing work. And while I was out here, I did work, for companies all over, from like LA to Seattle, again, always on the coast. Right. And so I've been, like I said, been trying to reestablish myself here, like from everything from like the hair community to with studios, for whether that's in Denver or here in Colorado Springs, because I'm in Colorado Springs now currently.
Okay.
And so that was part of it. And then it's something I again, like I've been learning and kind of dealing with since all that. So, and again, it comes back to that ego and other things. You start to think like I've had connections with people and things like that, that when I look back on it, I'm like, I should have just taken more of a step back and said yes longer. I think I got too, again, caught up in thinking that I was more important than I really was. And I was like, well, I need to be making more money, or I need money in general. Like, cause I was working for free on different stuff for people for so long that I did start to go, man, everybody's making money but me. And you start to feel that. And I let that creep in too much, and it took over a lot of my work. So I started saying no to things and just being like, well, no, if you want me to do this, it's going to be this. And then whether that was people just not wanting to pay versus, just ego, maybe there's a balance of both. But that led to a lot of not as many calls coming in, so a lot of those connections went away. So I had to realize, well, now I have to rebuild, which is good though, at the same time, like I said, because it's forced me to learn how to work with people differently, and just to know, what my actual value is, and then how to coach other people with that. And I'm older now, I'll be 36 in June. And a lot of people I work with are, in their early 20s and stuff like that, especially that film with me and stuff. And I'm glad that I went through a lot of that, because they'll be like, well, I need to be this or this, and I can't believe this is happening. I'm like, I know the feeling, but here's why you should maybe just breathe and give it a try.
Totally. Yeah. Slow it down a bit. And
yeah.
and that's amazing. And then, but yeah, talking about the rebuild, and it sounds like, yeah, one of the tips I had heard at one point is like, yeah, take on as much work as you can, even if it's free. And then you get so overwhelmed, and then you just start saying no. And then you like can start raising your prices a bit more, as you like have a higher demand for what you're doing.
Absolutely.
But as you mentioned, relocating, that's kind of like one of my, fears too. I've been here in Portland building for like 2 years.
Yeah.
Almost 3. It'll be 3 in August. But going to a new location, geography, going up to Seattle or going to Denver or going to LA, you always have to like rebuild. So you were building in Denver, and then now you're over in Colorado Springs and building from there.
Yeah. So, no, and you're right. And that brings into multiple layers, right? Of like when you go into social and whatnot, and your presence and putting yourself out there. Again, that goes back to, if you are on social, right? It's not as hard to rebuild if people know who you are, right? So it doesn't matter where you are, because you can fly almost anywhere, right? So that is part of it. But no, I've actually, so I've been working in and out of Denver, but I've been in the Springs since Colorado Springs since August of 2020. That's when I did the Olympic piece. And then I've just gone back and forth with studios up there, like doing work in and out, and then filming here in the Springs, and then occasionally flying to film in other places.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, that's like kind of one of my biggest fears, but I guess we do live in a day and age where there's social media to help you kind of continue to get your brand out there. Whereas I
Hmm.
think if we were doing this in like the turn of the century, early 2000, like it's just like, yeah, word of mouth and who knows you locally in the area.
100%. We have so much opportunity now. That's the flip side of that coin before, right? Where I said, if you're not comfortable doing it, don't do it. But also don't be mad later when it's that much harder because nobody knows who you are. Um, and that's why I do get a lot of opportunities I have, is because I have a reel and I have things like that and I have social media presence. And so if I approach people, or, or somebody refers me or something like that, I can show them and they can see it instantly. And then it doesn't matter, right? Because even when I started working with Sophie, she was in LA and I was in Portland. So it didn't matter, right? So it just really comes down to, if you're willing to put yourself out there, you definitely can reap those rewards.
Yeah, it's a trip. You're doing social media and putting yourself out there, and just like I had to overcome like a lot of my own fears and self-doubts, and just trying to like be comfortable with putting myself out there and like
Yeah.
looking like a fool.
Yeah.
Because like that's a lot of it. Because I think you kind of mentioned this earlier, where there's like so many people doing really, really high quality stuff. Like, how can I ever even compete with them? And I need to just like not just put the blinders on, and like they're doing their own thing. I have my own style, and I'm like developing my own style. And we're in this day and age where it's like you're learning in front of people, which I don't like doing. I'd rather just
Yeah.
like get really good and then show
Yeah.
everyone what I have. But now
Yeah.
it's like you're showing the process along the way, which is just different than any time in history before.
Oh man, yeah, what a good point. Yeah, it's interesting. I go through the same thing, and honestly, this obviously isn't just. I don't mean this as disrespectful to anybody, a lot of people, but I stopped watching almost everyone. Like, I used to watch a lot of different YouTubers, follow a lot of different people on social, and I just turned them all off, because, not because it's anything against them, but I ended up comparing myself so much and things like that, that I did. I easily get down on myself about these things, and then you see something so great, and I go, really, why not me? And they're getting this out. Like, you start to feel these little things where I go, oh, that's just your ego. These are a lot of things you're still working through. So instead I just turn it off and I go, what am I able to do? And then I just try to put it out there, and then 9 times out of 10, it's awesome. You have to find that shut off valve, because there's so much out there, so much constantly coming in, that I think it can be really overwhelming. So yeah, I don't blame you. And then there's there's also the document your process, right? You're learning. Do you want to show people how you're learning and other things through that? I go back and forth with that. I show people a lot of what I'm doing, and then I'll look back a year later and I'm like, I shouldn't have said a damn thing because that was terrible.
Yeah, I almost have to do like a reaction video to like what you said previously.
Oh my God, that's a good idea. I should do that. Reacting to myself.
Yeah, I've
Like,
been
look at
thinking
this
about doing
idiot.
that.
Oh, that's a good idea.
I
I
have a
like that.
bunch of stuff that I like created back when I was a young kid. I was just like trying to get comfortable, but I just put it on YouTube, and this is before like YouTube became a thing. And
Man,
I'm just like, man, this is kind of embarrassing, but
that's
that's how I
awesome.
learned. Like, and I had to learn in front of everyone, and it's probably more embarrassing for myself than anyone actually watching.
I love that though. That's so cool. You should do it.
Yeah, it's a total process, and I'm glad that we're talking about kind of the emotional side of this, because everyone just sees the finished product and they're like,
Yeah.
oh, that video looked really easy, and they just put it together. But it's like, no, we had to bust my chops, or like things didn't work out, and like you made do with what you were able to capture in the moment, and like all
Mhm.
these like corrections and troubleshooting that you
Mhm.
do along the way, like any numerous thing, like equipment pieces that you forget when you're on shoot, and you're like, okay, we're gonna jerry rig this with some duct tape and
And
make it
there.
work.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and a lot of it too for myself, like you had mentioned before, uh, when I got hurt, when I had to have my neck surgery, even though it was, to a lot of people it's not a big deal. They replaced a C4 C5, the disc. So I have an artificial disc in my neck now, and it's not fused or anything, but I have a fake disc put in. And even though I was okay and it's not a big deal, and they do it all the time, they still tell you, they're like, you could wake up paralyzed, you could have these issues, you have risk for stroke, you have all these things. And see, when I first got hurt, I was unable to move my right arm. So I woke up one morning, my neck had herniated, and I couldn't move my arm anymore, and I was in blistering pain. Like, just, it was one of the worst experiences of my life. You go through that level of pain, and then the realization I might not be able to use my arm anymore. And I'd already been through that other surgery, right? So I'd already been trying to recover. And before that, I was a bodybuilder. So I was a bodybuilder, working a job. I had all these things of who I am. and I lost, like it got torn away because I got hurt, and then I get hurt again, and they're like, you could have all these problems and this could be permanent. And you kind of go, wow, what am I doing like with my life? Like, so on every level, I was forced to just go, okay, what makes me happy? Am I doing things for the right reason? And literally it's like tomorrow isn't guaranteed. So I'm like, I should really just be a lot nicer to myself. And that's where a lot of these realizations have come from, you know what I mean? And that's where now I realize how much I messed up on a lot of things because I thought so high and of myself / mixed with, you got to be grinding, you got to be doing this, you got to be hustling, you need to tell everybody else they got to do the same thing. And if you're not doing the same thing, I can't be around you. Instead, I just became more forgiving to myself and of other things, you know what I mean? And that forced all of these things. Injury will do a lot to your brain, hopefully, in a good way.
Puts a lot of things in perspective for sure.
Yeah.
Hey man, I'm glad that you're like made it seems like a full recovery, and like,
Thanks.
yeah, like you mentioned, they're close to the spinal cord when they're doing all that stuff. So
terrifying. I was terrified.
Yeah. And then waking up like that, and then not even mention your medical bills and all that stuff that goes along with it. Like, and it probably set you back a few months. So
that was fun. Yeah.
Rehab.
Yep. All of it. It's very humbling.
Yeah. I'm glad you mentioned kind of like the beating I beat myself up all the time. Like, I'm probably my own worst critic. And like, I think one of the realizations I had is like, man, do I want to be like 90 years old and I'd spent my entire life just like beating myself up and being a jerk to myself? Like,
no,
what kind of life is that? But so many people do that all the time.
Yeah. And it's okay to be like, I don't know, people get really worked up about a lot of things, and I do too. And it's okay to just let go a little bit and just be like, you know what, I'm just glad I'm here. And when you really think about it, like, people say this all the time, but it's like, if you can wake up and you're okay and people in your family are okay, then the other stuff, like, it's hard. I'm not saying it's not hard, but it makes it that much easier to be like, you know what, we're all right. We're gonna get through this. And like, I know there's obviously tons of crazy stuff, sad stuff going on in the world, but you can only do so much. And that starts with just like trying to take care of yourself, till then you can allow yourself, if you take care of yourself a little bit and you do things again for the right reasons, then you can take care of the people around you for the right reasons. And then hopefully that rubs off and everything just gets a little bit better. You know what I mean?
Totally. Yeah. When you show up for yourself, take care of yourself, you can be a nicer person. You can bring more to the world. And it's not like selfish, but it's just like, you got to take care of yourself, or else everything else crumbles around. And like, I can run on fumes forever long. You know, you skip breakfast, skip lunch, and before you know, it's like 3 or 4 in the afternoon, you haven't eaten all day, and like, you're grouchy and the work quality starting to go down, all those things.
100%.
Do you, what are your thoughts on sleep? Are you like kind of a night owl, or do you kind of do stuff in the morning? How do you operate?
That's awesome. So I'm a early riser. I like my sleep. It's part of why I like doing things the way I do. I don't believe in being woken up by an alarm. Like, so when I was working hard all the time, when I was cutting hair and doing video, and then just doing video all the time, I would make myself get up between 4 or 4:30 in the morning. I would edit all morning and then go to my other job and do stuff like that. And always waking up, and I was sick all the time. I was always exhausted. And like, I probably even look exhausted now, but I feel better than I did back then because I let myself sleep in. I am a morning person. So I know the crap out of everybody that knows me, because almost everybody sleeps in. And like, especially my friends on the coast, I'm out here in Colorado, and I'll realize I'm sending them things at 6:30 in the morning, but I've already been up for a couple hours because I went to bed early, and I'm like, oh, I should probably wait till like 10 at least their time. So yeah, I'm all about sleep and rest. Rest is very important. I don't edit at night. My brain is good in the first half of the day, and then like after those first 6 hours, I turn into mush, and I'm a terrible human being, and all I can do is watch TV.
Yeah, but then that's helping with your job too. So
yeah,
win-win. No, I'm with you. I like to do all the stuff in the morning and kind of like get out of the way. I think they call it like eating the frog or something like that. So you're able to just kind of get out of the way.
Yeah.
And even just letting people know, we were supposed to have this podcast at 9 a.m. Monday morning, 9 a.m. I was like, man, Ryan's getting me out of bed and hitting the ground running in the work week.
Whoops.
It was no sweat. We wound up, I appreciate you letting me push this back an hour so I could get a little breakfast and dial everything else in.
I'm glad you ate. That's good.
Appreciate that. And yeah, man, you look like $100. I feel like you're taking good care of yourself. I think that's good advice for people to take to not skimp on the sleep. I've been there too. And you wake up at 4:30, you're kind of like only getting a few hours of sleep every night and you get sick. I think that's one of the biggest things.
You do.
It's getting sick all the time. And then you're having to make up for the sleep anyway.
Yep.
It's just kind of it's a vicious cycle.
Oh yeah. Yeah. No, you got to sleep, eat, don't be afraid to eat. And like, I don't know. I used to be, I mean, I am still very vain, but at the same time, I'm not, like I was a bodybuilder. I did all those things like, but once you kind of just let go and you just go, all right, what do I need? And then you just make that a priority. You feel a lot better. At least I do. A good walk in the sun. And that's good enough right there.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
If the sun comes out.
Yeah, we haven't seen it for like 4 months, but it's the Northwest. No, I'm just hating it. We had a little bit this weekend, so it was nice. I totally agree with like walking around it, because a lot of times you're on social media, you're like, man, the world is like a cold, dark place. Yeah. But you go on a walk, you like smile, wave at some people, see the sun. It totally changes your perspective on life, I feel.
Yeah. Well, and actually I love that you bring that up. For any people that if you're out there trying to figure out like ways to get work and do other things, the reason I bring this up is there's a guy on my team, his name's Clint, and you can see him on the EditButter website, editbutter.com. He's all about, so he doesn't do a lot with social, and I'm always pushing him. I'm like, dude, you gotta do at least a little bit more, but don't if you're not going to do it, but at least try, because he doesn't do much. But he's all about, well, can you have some time this week? I want to go to, and he names off 30 places. He's like, I want to go in here and I want to meet all these people firsthand, shake some hands and get in there. And that at first was really tough for me. And now I'm like, he's right. Cause you go and you make those physical connections. People have a face and a vibe to the name. And so you pair that with the social media marketing, and now you have a whole new monster. And then it allows you to not just be involved in your community online, but I've definitely have learned, especially this goes back to my days of cutting hair, being involved in your community is literally a lot of times physically showing up, right? And meeting people. And that makes a huge difference. So, put yourself out there online, go out and meet people in person, get some business cards, get a website, whatever you got to do, and just start shaking hands. And that'll help as well with the mental health, because now you're not sitting in front of your computer, and you can get some good food while you're at it.
I love it. Yeah. And there's something about, it feels like it's almost like it's intuitive, but it's like old school, like actually going and meeting people in person and having a conversation with the human being. COVID has kind of moved us into this digital stratosphere. Yeah. But people remember those conversations. They remember that one-on-one, because you could DM someone and have some kind of connection, but actually talking with someone, making eye contact, having that in person, it's just like, it's invaluable. But it does take it's cool that you have someone on your team that like motivates you or inspires you, because it's a lot easier to tackle those things with someone else than it is by yourself.
Exactly. Well, and it'll teach you a lot too, about, I think, especially just in running a business, like, or being your own business, like, if you can interact with people more, it's like you continue to learn that connections are everything. And if you can make those connections a little bit deeper, that can really help in the long run. And I think it just feels good. And like you said, obviously, if you're not still going out because of COVID, things like that, obviously keep doing the digital, by all means, like, don't get sick. I just mean, it's nice to be able to, if you're comfortable with it, go and do those things, because it reminds you of just like what life kind of was like, and it awakens something else, because we are so social media, so on the computers, always doing a Zoom meeting, things like that, you
lose your humanity a little.
Exactly. I miss people, and that's actually, I realized was one of the best things about cutting hair. I was around people all the time, even if I didn't like some of them for different reasons. It was different interactions, and you grow, and I was on my feet and I was moving around, and I was thinner just because I was moving. You know what I mean? Like, so like, don't be afraid to get out there, do other things, because then it also teaches you just different ways to communicate. And again, down the line, depending on what you want to do with your career, can pay, triple fold in dividends, because you know how to present yourself, and not just on media, but in person, because you'll literally give out a vibe and make people feel a certain way. And hopefully that's a positive way. And so it's a good thing to try, to at least give it a try. You
Yeah,
know?
yeah. And it'll help kind of build that confidence. And like, yeah, you did like the one big scary thing that day. You went to like a networking event and you're like, even if you don't even stay the whole time, you only go for a half hour or 45 minutes, like that's still
Yeah.
a win. And then it gives you more confidence for the next time you go to one. And you kind of,
Yeah.
I find I just start to have better conversations with people. Like when I first started, like I was just asking like generic questions, but now I'm like very asking more focused questions. Like, what kind of business do you have? And
Yeah.
like, what are some of the challenges? Like, do you have a communication issue? Oh, video can help you communicate a lot of these things. Cause
Nice.
especially like I meet people that are like in engineering field or health or sciences, and like they love to just jump into the weeds and start throwing acronyms at you and using these big words. I'm like, okay, this doesn't make any sense to me, just like in this one-on-one conversation, but a video, I could actually see the DNA strand or whatever it is that they're referencing.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's always, things are always, everything is scarier in your head than it really is to do it in person. 9.8 times out of 10, you go up and talk to somebody and you think it's going to be bad. It's usually not. And half the time, the worst thing they say is no thanks. It's really not that bad. And it does, it like awakens something in you and you feel a little bit more alive. At least I do, you know?
Oh yeah. The heart's racing.
Yeah, it does.
Pits are
It
going,
does.
but,
Oh, oh yeah.
but you grow because of that. And that's kind of like, I mean, that's the point of life, is to like suffer, change, and then grow. Or what is it? Suffer, grow, then change, or something like that.
Yeah.
Kind of
Yeah. I think, I just, to make things a little bit, just to find ways to make things a little bit better. You know what I mean? I grew up with a lot of different challenges, at home and things like that, because, my mom was disabled, things like that. A lot of different things where growing up, everything was always just so intense and like so emotional and so hard. And like, I look back at a lot of myself, like growing up, I was always had this like chip on my shoulder that it's taken a lot of time for me to learn, where now I'm just kind of like, hey man, like, let's just hang out and like smile, like everywhere, like everybody always laughs because all over my desk, all I have are minions because they make me laugh. You know what I mean? And I have a good time. So it's like, if I can just find ways to make things a little bit more enjoyable, like that's my new goal. You know what I mean?
That's a fantastic goal to have.
Yeah.
Yeah, happiness is very underrated, or just like trying to be easier on ourselves. And like one of my mantras is like everything in its own time. Like,
Yeah.
it feels like, especially as a business owner, there's like 1,000 things that we could be doing right now,
Yeah.
but there's only one of you and there's only so much time. So it's just like, it's gonna happen, but just being patient.
Yeah.
New
Yeah.
Minion movie coming out
That's
probably
right.
sometime this year.
Oh, I can't wait. I can't
They'll
wait.
do the
That's gonna be
backstory
awesome.
on younger Gru, right?
Yeah. Let me ask you, I was curious, I wanted to ask you, because I know you're talking to me, but so you've restarted things a little bit here. What are your goals? What do you have coming up for the next year? Have you thought like what you're doing with this? Like what are your goals for the next year?
Yeah, going bigger.
Yeah.
I set the bar, last couple of years, but yeah, we're rebooting the podcast. So thank you for this question. Yeah, Tactus Media podcast. We're rebooting this, and my goals are to just kind of keep reinvesting into the company. I have a lot more solid clients than I had in the past, so
Nice.
that allows me to do some things, which I'm very thankful to my clients for putting me on.
Awesome.
Um,
That's
because yeah,
amazing.
if you don't have like really a steady income coming in, you can't put it back into the business, and you're just like
Absolutely.
bootstrapping. It's stressful.
Yeah, it is.
Because like things like this, doing the podcast are really fun. This is actually like one of my favorite things to do, is just like
Nice.
interviewing people and learning and just stretching that curiosity muscle.
Yeah.
um but I have to, like, if money's not coming in, this is one of the things that kind of has to be put to the back burner.
Yeah.
Sorry, audience, but that's just how it is. That's the reality. It's
Yeah.
like, you have to shift and change. So my goal is just like keep things going as they are, have some good clients. And I'm always like kind of on the search to have some other clients, but
Yeah.
I'm also just trying to bring in work and have people that maybe are a little bit more specialized here in Portland that can help out with
Nice.
different projects.
Nice.
Kind of like you mentioned, like you're able to say no to things, but then give it to someone else who
Uh-huh.
it's a really good fit for them.
Yeah.
So
Which is
people just
important.
knowing like who to reach out to for video work. So
Yeah. There's a lot of them out there. What's one of the biggest things you're going to do differently this time?
mainly for me, it was just surviving the pandemic. The
That's
pandemic,
fair.
I like started my company in I had pretty much, it was like the span of a baby. It was 9
Mhm.
months. I started my company 9 months later. March or April of
Yeah.
2020 rolled around,
Yeah.
and I had to change everything, and I went digital. I was like, okay,
Yep.
I'm gonna just edit footage that people send to me. I'll edit like Zoom calls, which you can only do so much with, and make like a
Yeah.
brand video out of a Zoom call, which
Yeah.
it's different and it has its own place. And I was even doing like a little website, social media management. But
Nice.
now I'm finding that like one of my strengths is being able to talk with people and communicate and like in person. So I'm
Nice.
looking forward to getting back to that and maybe teaching other people. I don't know if you have this in Colorado Springs, but here in Portland, like people have forgotten like how to communicate. Like
Uh-huh.
a lot of awkward interactions that shouldn't
Yeah.
be. But I'm like, okay, I'll be the chill person that can help carry the conversation. And
That's good.
yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. I don't
I
know,
like
like
that.
I don't have any too big like lofty goals other than like I think I'm slowly moving out of just survival mode and into like I can reinvest into the company mode.
Good. Good for you. It's good you realize that though. You're not putting a crazy expectation on yourself and you're just allowing yourself to move forward. That's huge in and of itself, honestly, because not enough people are moving forward. They're still set back in that fear because there's the different kinds of fear. There's a fear that pushes you forward and there's a fear that stops you. And you're literally making the choice to move forward, even if it feels hard or scary, right? So that's
mm-hmm.
good.
Yeah, and I'm fumbling along the way. I fail all the time, and
That's fine.
fail fast and move on from there. The biggest
Yeah.
thing I've been doing is like actually probably putting too much time into my personal brand. I don't know. Do you ever find like kind of a balance between personal brand and like EditButter Studios? Or maybe it's pretty nice to be able to separate those out because at one point it was just your name, right?
Yeah, it's tough. I go, it's 50-50. It's hard starting over with like the company because the company doesn't have the same presence that I have. And I don't have a huge presence, but more people know me for that than they know that name.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel it is a hard mix. I got away from, again, that's part of the thing is the humbling thing. I didn't want all the attention on myself anymore. I wanted to disappear kind of, which like I'm still in it. And obviously I client facing and do all those things, but I wanted it to be a team and people be like, wow, those guys are great as opposed to just me. And also people find you. I've had people find me online, literally like, it's one of the bad things of social. Like I've had people find me on all socials to tell me how much I sucked and then find my emails to then continue to harass me and stuff like
Really?
that.
You're
So
getting
yeah.
trolled?
Oh yeah. One of the first like times my videos started to blow up on like TikTok. Obviously tons of trolls on TikTok everybody deals with, but then I've had experiences where I'll block them there and then they find me on my other social and then they find me on my others and then they find my email. And I was like, wow,
People
I
are
got to just
crazy,
get
man.
my
Who has the time to just like do that? What like
somebody who's not it's just sad. Like a lot of people, I even have personal friends that I know that do that stuff because they just think it's hilarious, but somewhere along the line I think they eventually admit, they go, yeah, I'm not happy in my own life. Like you're not happy if you're taking the time out to do that to other people because there is no ROI in that. There's no return that can possibly be good to attack somebody that much. I will never understand it. So I separated my name from a lot of stuff because I wanted more anonymity and I wanted to put more attention on other people.
and you can build something that outlives you, which is kind of cool
Yeah.
too. Which
Yeah.
when someone mentioned that to me, I was like, oh, they're right. They're like, if you ever wanted to give it to your kids one day, or like
Very
have a
good point.
success, have an apprentice or someone that you train up on all this stuff.
Very
Uh,
good point. I like that. That's
yeah,
nice.
it's just crazy. Like, I can't believe you got trolled like that, Ryan. I'm really sorry you had to go through
Oh
that.
yeah. It's
People can
okay.
be jerks.
Yeah, it's okay. I don't read comments anymore, man, because of that. Honestly, I've heard of people, they call it post and ghost. I more or less do that. I want to be involved in the community and I want to talk, but that's one of the things I had to accept with myself was how I am affected by things. And like when people say negative things, it's that classic, you get 100 nice things and one bad thing and that sits in your head all day. Well, it sits in my head. So I tend to just like try to be a part of stuff. And then the people that really want to talk to me, they find ways to talk to me or they email the company and stuff like that. And then if I have to deal with a troll there, well, then that's fine. But you know what I mean?
It is what it is at that point.
Yeah.
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 Man,
It's
it's so
interesting.
crazy that our psychology works out, and it probably comes from that need to be accepted by society, so that way you get food and resources and you can survive.
Yeah.
But that one negative thing that you hear always stands out. Like everyone's saying, oh, great stuff, and then the one and whatever, you have to kind of like brush it off, but it can sit with you for a few days or weeks. And
Oh yeah, and I've
I
had
try to
some
let
terrible comments, so I feel
yeah,
it.
I try to like laugh it off, but as a creative, I find it's especially challenging. Like I don't think people realize like what we're doing isn't just like adding up an equation or like doing something that's always been done. We're putting our heart and soul into the project, and
Yeah,
it's a part of us. No matter how hard you try, a part of you will always be connected to it because you put your
yeah,
actual time. You could be spending your time on a million different things, but you chose to work on this project and
yeah,
put it out there.
yeah, yeah. It's when people come after things that it's different from like, I mean, I don't know. It's when you're creative and people come after you, you feel it. I've always been that way. I had multiple art school scholarships when I was a kid. I grew up in art, art schools, things like that. I was always doing something like that. And I always felt it harder, when somebody said something nasty about it. I was like, well, I'm really trying, because I personally, I don't really have that in me. Like I'll get mad about things for sure, like anybody else, but I don't go out of my way to tell somebody something negative just to say it. It doesn't really, it doesn't
Yeah,
do
it
anything
does
for
help
me.
them, or is it just like my own ego, just like wanting to like shit on somebody or something,
Yeah.
whatever.
Well, because then again, like I said earlier, like you realize like I'm good at a lot of things, but I also like I look at the people from O'Kern's and Division and stuff like that, that their companies. I see what they're doing, and I go, wow, I've got a lot to learn. So my ego immediately, like I don't have one anymore because I just go, I'm just lucky to still get work at this point. I'm like, I'm good enough that enough people still trust me. So I'm thankful. you know?
Totally. Yeah. Every day that I can do what I enjoy doing on like my own terms, I'm
Yeah,
so thankful because yeah, I think we both have come from that darkness of where you didn't have control over things, and it's just like slamming your head against the keyboard and just like hoping for better days ahead.
totally.
And
Yeah,
not to say that we're not going to have challenges in the future, but I'm feeling a lot better than I was in my
good.
early 20s.
That's awesome. I love that.
Yeah.
That's
Uh,
awesome.
do you have any favorite like platforms to be on? I know we're talking about kind of this disconnect with social media and the emotional side of
Yeah.
things, but is there like a platform I obviously it sounds like TikTok is kind of toxic, but
Yeah.
um
Well, no, and it's not toxic. Like if anything, I think it's amazing. A lot of people have a lot of negative things to say about it. Like for me, it's just those experiences with the comments. But if you get past those things, right? I think TikTok's great for the reasons of it's an opportunity. It's the only platform that I know of still currently that allows you to reach people you otherwise would never reach. Because again, Instagram and others, unless you're using Reels, and even that can be, that we can get into conversation of how all that works. But so yeah, I love TikTok. I like Instagram Reels. I'm learning that I need to do more with obviously YouTube Shorts. YouTube Shorts is huge. Obviously, the shorter stuff, shorter attention span stuff is blowing up on every platform. But I like TikTok for the fact that you can reach people that otherwise would never see your content. You always have an opportunity. You're literally, what is it? Gary Vee always says that you're one TikTok away from your life completely changing. And it's absolutely true. I have people that I've worked with who, like one gentleman in particular, his name is Jairus Johnson. You might have seen him on TikTok. He's huge now. He's got millions of followers, and he signed, record deals, and he's performing with some of the biggest musical artists that were around, when I was growing up. And I filmed one of his very first music videos, and I had no clue what I was doing at the time. And it's hilarious because he blew up, and then people found his video on my page and then roasted me on there. They're like, this song's great, but the video's trash. And I was like, but it's hilarious because
messed up.
TikTok took him from working with me to working with some of the biggest people in the industry, and completely changed his life. And I have other people who have hundreds of thousands of followers, and they're getting money, they're getting brand deals, they're doing things like that. And they're able to monetize and change their life in a way that wasn't available through other platforms. And now Reels is doing that as well. So I love TikTok. I like Instagram for Reels. And then, yeah, YouTube, I'm obsessed with YouTube. I'm on it all the time. I only go on Facebook to see what people are complaining about, I think, really. I mean, I still use Facebook for marketing other stuff, but it's not the same push that it used to be for me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it doesn't have as much reach as it used to. And I've been blown away. I've just started doing reels in the last couple weeks,
Yeah.
and just doing, combining that fusion. I have a background in soccer, so it's like
Nice.
combining the passion for soccer with video production has been great.
That's awesome.
But I put it out there, and yeah, a video that you think is going to be does really well doesn't, but then the other
Mhm.
one takes off, and the organic reach on Reels is unreal, unreal.
It's awesome. It is awesome. And just being more organic. Like I like the fact that I can just grab my cell phone and you just talk about something, and it doesn't need to be a big setup, because people trust that more too. You know what I mean? The more overly produced content I do doesn't get views. But if I'm just more myself and just talk and literally whip my phone out, it does so much more. It's crazy. Behind the scenes and just being honest, it's like, it's literally telling us, I think, in a way, what society needs more of. And that's just more things that you can trust or like really feel inside. Like literally TikTok did that, where it took the level of production. Like there are still things obviously that people do that are blowing up, that are huge, that have crazy production. But the fact that you can just open something up and be honest about something, or teach somebody something really quick, and that does more than anything, is just, it goes to show you that people needed that, like that sense of connection in a way. So it's really cool. That's why I like it.
Yeah. Gosh, I wish I would have started off the whole episode with this, but one of the big reasons I want to have you on the show, Ryan, was because so originally this podcast was the VidMark podcast, and it was like trying to teach people about video production and getting people like just learning how to do it on their own. But I've wanted to shift away from that and more towards just, interviewing, featuring cool stories and people that are doing cool stuff.
Nice.
So that's why I'm hoping, like, with what we can do here is, like, my audience, if they have questions or want to learn more about that video process, they can go to EditButter Studios. They can follow your handle on Instagram. And if they want those tips, they want to learn how to, like, behind the scenes, they can check out the work that you're doing, because you're helping out a lot of people in the community that are trying to just learn things from the ground up.
Yeah.
And, I think it's awesome what you're doing.
Oh, thank you. And I appreciate that. And that's a lot coming from somebody, because you, like yourself, because you went to film school, right?
I went to, journalism school. So it wasn't quite film, but it was like that journalistic style, which is that, like, run and gun documentary.
Oh, that's amazing.
Setups and
no, well, that's huge, because you have that knowledge. I'm self-taught. I came into this with no idea what I was doing. And again, like I say, still don't. And, you go into film sets or other things, and they have a code word for everything. A thumbtack is like a B38, and you're like, I don't know. Like, there's all this stuff out there that makes everything intimidating. So I do like to share a lot of things sometimes, because I just say, hey, listen, yes, things are done this way for this certain level, but also it can be done this way as well. And if you just communicate and show people that it can be fun, everything doesn't have to be overly complicated and all these other things. I just go, well, I had no idea what I was doing, but I still figured it out. So here's what I did. And people go, nice. So, you know what I mean?
Yep. I think that's really cool. Yeah. When you're on set and, like, people start throwing around all these crazy words, and you're like, man, I almost need like a dictionary for
it's tough.
All the things out there. And it can be very intimidating. So I'm glad that you're making it more accessible for people. And, I think there's huge advantages to not going to film school. I'm sure I could do a whole podcast on that, but there were in some ways that, like, I'm really thankful to, professors and mentors and people out there, but in some ways they kind of shape you and form you in a way that, like, was what they learned in society is so much different today than it was in the 80s, in the 90s. Just how we do things, and making content for YouTube is such a different platform than what people were doing for television. And a lot of people are trying to make stuff on YouTube look like television, and it doesn't work because of that. What we've been talking about this whole time, it doesn't feel, it's just too polished. You're putting.
Absolutely. Well, and to what you said, I think the biggest point of that is, that's why I tell people not to be afraid to do things their own way. Because you said, like, like the way I do some things, that's what got me a lot of my work. That's what got me, like, the opportunities with Sophie and stuff like that. She was like, your stuff's different. It was only different because I literally tried to mimic the things I was seeing out there, and I couldn't do it. I couldn't figure it out. So I just got crazy with a lot of things. And I was like, I like this, and this makes sense to me. And people gravitated towards that because other people weren't doing it like that. And had I done things more that traditional way, maybe I would have just blended into the background more. But because I had no clue and I was throwing things at the wall, people go, what is this crazy bastard doing? And I don't know. And they were like, cool, work with us. That worked for me. So I encourage people to try that, and then learn as you go, but don't get away from just, be yourself, have fun with it. And don't, I have a big problem in society and anything in the world where people tell you to do things a certain way. I understand rules and constraints for a certain reason. And, like, I went to, hair school. I used to teach cutting hair. You need to know the basics before you can break them. Basically, you need to learn foundations, but at the same time, those are roadblocks and barriers for entry that a lot of people have created. So don't be afraid to try things a little bit differently. You might be terribly wrong, but that's okay.
Yeah, don't be afraid to, put your own style into it. And I love that you pushed the envelope in a way that made sense to you. And yeah, you have a completely different style. And that's,
Yeah.
I think in a world of like so much noise, being
Yeah.
unique and leaning into like your own personality and leaning into the own things that you enjoy. And
Yeah.
I thought that was cool that you were like trying to replicate what you saw out there, and it was like, and you just want to do your own thing. I think in music, that's a huge thing too.
Absolutely.
There's this artist, Matt Kearney, here
Yeah.
in Oregon. He does like the Oregon
Yeah.
Ducks song or whatever. But I read this thing that like he wanted to play the songs of his favorite musicians, and he like couldn't do it. So he's like, whatever, I'll just start writing my own stuff. And
Yeah.
that worked out really well for him.
Boom. See, there you go. That's awesome. Same thing. I tried to do other things, couldn't do it, did it my own way. And I got a lot of crap for it. You're going to get pushback, but that's okay at the same time, because that means people are seeing it. And just because they don't agree with it doesn't mean it's not going to lead to something. Because again, I had a bunch of people tell me your stuff's too fast. It's too crazy. I can't focus. I don't know what's going on. But in my brain, all of it moved really slow. I was like, what are you talking about? But then other people were like, I like this because it's insane. And because all the things that everybody listed they didn't like, somebody else was like, I like that for those reasons. And I was like, oh, okay. I don't have to listen to them. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But it's so tough. Like I'm a people pleaser. So it's like, oh, I want everyone to be happy and everyone to love. That's not, you can't operate that way, or else you become vanilla.
No, it's true. And you got to stick up for yourself too. I've been working with a couple people on that. They're like, I just let people push me around. I am very nice. And I am a people pleaser too, but I have definitely learned, I'm like, no, that's not me. And this is what I'm doing. And that's why, again, I say things up front. I'm doing this for this reason. This is what the cost is going to be. Or if there isn't a cost, this is what I expect. This is where I'm going with this. That doesn't work for you. There are 5 million other video people you can reach out to in 3 seconds. I'm not going out of my way to please people to make something that somebody else is going to make easier anymore. You know what I mean? I go, this is my style. You see what you see. If you don't like it, that's totally fine. There are other people for you, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that.
And it takes a while to be able to like kind of stand for that.
Don't get pushed around.
Yeah. It's easy to do. I found a lot through my life. There's people out there that will try to shape you into what they want you to be. And so you have to kind of decide, like, this is what I want to do. This is the type of work I want, and stick by that. Because if you don't, you'll fall for everything else, is what
100%
I learned.
100%. I love that. Good. Well said.
I appreciate that. Yeah. Dude, this has been an amazing conversation. We've gone into the heart of video production, because it's like it is so much.
It is a lot.
I don't know. I'm an empath, so I'm like always like emotionally connecting with stuff. Less than the logic side. I wish I was more logic brain, but like I'm emotional.
Same.
Just one of those things.
It's okay.
So you gotta like lean into that. Like maybe I'm not having a good day, and like you showcase that. Like I'm trying to be more vulnerable with people, which is hard for me to do too, because I'm always like, oh, I don't want to look like show my failures and show that I'm like not doing well, but I'm coming to grips with it.
Well, just remember that you're a human and other people are, and if they, people will relate to that, and it's okay. Don't beat yourself up for that, because if you didn't have those feelings, you wouldn't have the other side of it too, right? So you're doing good.
Appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Gotta all help each other out. I mean, it's a tough world out there. Super hard mode.
You're telling me.
The world gets like too hard sometimes. I'm just like, man, is it like, why is it always on extreme hard mode?
That's why. Why you gotta have 1 million of these damn things around.
Heck yeah. Yeah, nice, little minions. I love it. I guess just talking about different industries. I don't know how much more time you have, but like, do you think you'll ever do any video work with like bodybuilding or more stuff in the music industry?
Yeah, I mean, we will see what comes forward. I mean, I used to do a lot of work with, if you look her up, she's amazing. She's very sweet. Claire P. Thomas on Instagram. She's very big in the fitness world. I think she has well over 1 million followers, stuff like that. I did a lot of YouTube for her, a lot of social media, a lot of branding for her back in the day. And I actually got my start back in the day when I was doing a lot of the hair stuff with a bunch of other bodybuilders and personal trainers. So I would love to do more of that. If there's anybody out there that wants to do some stuff, hit me up.
Yeah.
And music videos, I'm always trying. I've done work with, like Rise Records and Equal Vision Records and for stuff for other bands. I'm always wanting to do more stuff for bands because I played in bands and whatnot. So I would love more of that. My goal is to do more of that type of work where I can be more creative, and bring those ideas to life and work with those types of people. But at the same time, I definitely have shifted where I want to help small businesses. You know what I mean? I want to help small businesses grow. And that means if I could take a local like food truck, like there's a lot of really cool food trucks here in Colorado Springs. And like I'm plant-based. I've been vegan for, 9 years or whatever. And I would love to help them grow and bring their brands so that they end up with storefronts and, all these different things. Like my goal is to be able to work with people like that and watch them grow, again, watch people develop. And if I can help that through video and coaching and all those other things, that's kind of the goal,
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Thanks,
and
man.
then I've always loved about videos, you can make a video about anything. And so, yeah, going to a food cart and helping them out in a video is so huge, especially because like what they're showing is visual. It's food and you want to make people hungry, but then you also want to showcase their style. And I find these food carts, like you'll see one that's like, bright pink or, all these, bright greens and blues, all these crazy colors. And like just bringing that style to life is so cool.
Yeah. Find a way to stand out and just don't be afraid to be seen,
Yeah, that's huge advice because a lot of people, I think there is a fear, myself still included, trying to get over that of like, put it out there and just don't compare myself to others. And like, this is me, this is who I am. And I am who I am, Popeye.
Yeah. Support people all around you. But if you need to, turn off the feed, support people, but also know when to just turn it all off and just stay true to yourself.
Yeah. All right. I kind of have just a couple more questions here.
Cool.
Is there anything that you're seeing out there that you think could like kind of help elevate people's videos? I mean, and here we are talking about like do your own thing, but if you could use your little bit of critical eye or feedback eye, is there like a one little tip that you think people could do to level up their game?
I think the thing that is going to level up anybody's game is taking a few steps back and maybe thinking about things in more of a pre-production type way. A lot of people have branding guidelines and things like that. A lot of bigger businesses and companies I've worked with, or a lot of the successful influencers that I know, they have brand guidelines in a way. They know what fonts they're using. They know what their image is kind of like, things like that. While at the same time, not being afraid to break that image, also set some guidelines and like take the initiative to step things up. And whether that is just filming with your cell phone, use the cell phone, but maybe just try to get a better angle, things like that. I found a lot of places like here in Springs that have great food and other things like that, but their posts look like they're from, literally from a potato. And I'm like, you're in 2022. So if you're not going to hire somebody else to do these things, just, get next to a window, try and get better light. My biggest thing really is take your quality up a little bit, but and then also share your story. I don't think enough companies are sharing their story, which is one of my big things with EditButter. So if you go to editbutter.com and you look on our page, you'll see our reel, then you'll see a case study. You'll see different case studies. And one is with a coffee company here called Humblebee Roastery. And we did a mini documentary for them. And while we did some social media and other stuff, they wanted to tell more of their story because they're also getting approached for franchising and things like that. But if people know who it is in the community that they're connecting with, I think that's the biggest thing. So I would say to anybody, don't be afraid to talk more and put yourself out there, like literally put yourself on camera and just say, this is who I am. And here's the company, and give more background. Because again, why do people like the cell phone videos? It's because it feels like something you can trust. Well, you're going to probably be more likely to go to a local, food cart or whatever, not just because their food looks good, but because you like the people behind it. I think not to be afraid to be a little bit more personable is the biggest thing I would say. Because if you can't control the quality, at least you can control the intent.
Yeah, I get the message. And that's really fantastic advice. And I think a lot of people, maybe a food cart, they put a lot of the focus on the food and they forget that people are making a human connection. So like if you're the owner of the food cart, like why did you start your business, or how did you start this, or what were some of those challenges when you were first getting started that you had to overcome? People really connect and resonate with that.
Yeah. And make it funny, make it approachable, like do different things, like whatever you got to do to make it stand out, try that, but find a way to just become something that the people like stories, right? Why do you sit for a 3-hour Batman story? It's because you know everything about the background behind him and you want to know what's going to happen, right? So
Oh yeah. That's a really good example too, because it's like we all kind of know the different characters, but then how do they intertwine? And they've taken, I mean, Batman's been around for like since the 60s, maybe 50s, and everyone knows him, but it hasn't gotten old, and they've refreshed it and rebooted it so many different times that yeah, it's been very cool. And I think that's part of it too, is like building these different characters or personas. Like I mean, for you have like kind of minions, you have, I know like Camera can become its own like character too. It's exciting.
Yeah, I totally agree.
And then we'll just do one last question. Any predictions? So then we can play this in like 5 years and be like, Ryan was right or wrong, and then we can react to it and we can laugh at it or whatever.
That's funny. Predictions for
just like where you think things are going, maybe video world or
interesting. I think
social.
Yeah, I predict there's going to be another platform that's going to pop up, that's going to start either nipping at the heels or take out TikTok, because at some point they're going to get to such a point where it's too monetized or commercialized, like it's already that, but it's going to get to a point where it's so ad driven or bought in that it might become like Instagram, where it becomes hard to get organic reach. So I see a new company coming in, and then I see things definitely moving more towards the side of even more homegrown stuff. We already see it now, but you're going to see more companies that are huge doing more and more cell phone based content, user based influencer stuff, because again, more people are trusting that. But I think even that's starting to turn, because when you see so many people, because people talk about it, right, all the time, that they show all the brand deals and stuff they're getting, well, then you start to go, now these are the new commercials. So there's going to be a development past that, but I don't know what that is yet. And it might be, the NFT stuff, all the other things, but I can't speak to that. So I don't know.
Right. Yeah. It gets a little crazy into like the metaverse and all of that, but I'm with you. It's something, there will be something that kind of that is a disruptor that makes it even more like human connection. And maybe it's like an augmented reality or like something where you're just doing little snippets. There is one platform, gosh, I don't know the name of it, so now I'm looking silly, but my wife was telling me there's this platform where like it'll notify you at certain times of the day, like just take a snapshot of what you're doing at that moment, and then you post it. So it's kind of like an alert notification type platform. Whereas like Instagram, you just do it whenever, but imagine Instagram, but they're like, okay, it's 12 o'clock. Let's do your 12 o'clock post. Like, and the idea behind it is that it's a little bit more like organic, or like, what is someone actually doing during this time, rather than just little highlights.
A lot harder to fake it when you have to post right then. That's interesting.
I'm on the toilet, 11 o'clock.
Yeah, it could be. You probably see a lot of those. Wow. No, I like that. That's fun.
Oh, just in from my my assistant Emily. It's called Be Real.
Be Real.
What a good name for it. Capital B-E or capital B and then the capital R for the Be Real.
E-A-L?
Yeah, R-E-A-L.
Okay. R-E-A-L.
I guess, you gotta kind of clarify, because it could be R-E-E-L, but
right. I don't ever know anymore. Cool.
Reels and all of that. I'm always amazed that like some of those old school terms in video have like stood the test of time, like cutting
forever.
Film. I'm filming this, but we're not actually using film anymore, but that will probably stay with it for a long time.
Yeah, I love that word.
Video shoot, or like it's a wrap.
Yep, same.
And then the other thing I forgot to mention, Sean Seichow, big shout out for kind of helping connect us.
That's right.
Because like I found you on Instagram because I was just looking up like Portland videographers. You popped up and I started following you. And then Sean was like, do you know Ryan? And I was like, I follow him on social. Like he does really good like video work. And you were like inspiring me. He's like, well, he used to cut my hair. And
that's crazy.
So it's like kind of this
he's
really
cutting hair now.
World. And now he's cutting hair.
He's cutting hair.
Because you inspired him. You also inspired me for video. So it's just like,
man.
You never know like what you're putting out there, how it can affect like the world around you.
So cool. And he's doing good. That's actually, it's interesting. We didn't talk about, that's actually one of the next things I'm going to do is I actually want to I want to get a small studio space that's not where I am now, and actually cut hair out of it just to get myself off the computer and other things like we were saying. But also I want to film it and like put up hair videos and make that a part of what I'm doing. So film people in my studio for hair, but also do interviews, product videos, other things I can do. But I want to bring it back to hair because it's done so much for me. And then you can, again, that's another way to make money on top of it. I cut hair, film it, and put it on YouTube and Instagram and watch it grow.
Yeah. And that's made, and only you can do that. Because not very many people can cut hair and cut video. Like,
yeah. So it's literally all in, like I have the power to do all of it. So I was like, I should do that. And barbering and all those people, like I saw the huge connection to that community. I'm supposed to actually go, I just cut a thing. It was on my thing. I did 4 or 5 videos for it's called BarberCon, for Barbershop Connect. It's on my regular page if you see it. And I'm supposed to go film all these huge events and stuff. So I wonder if Sean will be there.
That's really cool. BarberCon.
Yeah.
Everyone that's listening to this, go check it out.
Yeah. See if Sean's going to BarberCon. Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah. Well, I appreciate it, man. Man. EditButter Studios, excited for all the things you're going to do with that. Cause like, I can totally, I saw what you're going with the vision. It's like you could cook something up. Yep. You're making like a souffle. There's
your videos could use more flavor.
Yes. And then also I heard a really good quote from this guy that's like, when I'm making your video, when you start telling me how to do things, it's like a chef, and you're like, you would never tell the chef that's making you thing like take out garlic or take out salt. Yeah. Like you would never say that. And then the chef has to be like, well, this isn't my dish anymore. Like this is now your dish that you wanted. So if you don't like the taste of it, that's 100% on you, because I cooked it the way that I think it's supposed to be made.
That's huge. That's huge. Very well said.
Yeah.
Good point. I like that.
EditButter Studios, guys, check it out. Ryan, this has been amazing. Thanks, I think we kind of covered the gambit of all the different creative processes. And thank you for coming back onto the podcast as we've kind of shifted things. I think the first one, 2 years ago, like 2019. So here we are, 2022.
That's crazy. Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Cool. I'm glad to be a part of it.
Things are moving fast.
But, no, keep crushing it. I'm excited to see what you do.
Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate you, Ryan. This has been an amazing podcast. Please check out Ryan's social media channels. You can go to Ryan Chisesi on Instagram or EditButter Studios. You can check out the website. All that will be in the show notes. And that is a wrap.
Nice. See you soon.
Hey, everyone. Thank you so much for checking out the Tactus Media podcast. Please let us know if you have any questions, anything that we can help with. We're here for you. Did you find this podcast valuable? Please subscribe and turn on those notifications. If you feel compelled, let us know how we're doing. Leave us a review.